Dude, these were amazing quesadillas. I just sent you a picture.
Okay. Is this going to be the story coming out of quarantine that like Eddie has become like a valid cook? Like that's going to be the big news.
I think it's possible.
Podcast.
I'm making some breaded chicken.
All right, you're using up too much podcast content. We have to start.
All right, we'll go. Go.
All right, here we go. All right, welcome everybody. Oh, God damn it.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is time for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from the entire crew at Soonerscoop.com. We welcome in everyone who is still quarantining, although there is some positive news on the COVID front. Today, I would say Dr. Fauci throwing some good stuff out there. We can talk about that, but we welcome in from quarantine land Josh McCuistions, who is probably watching. How many times you watch Frozen 2 now?
Frozen 2
Trolls is that taking over?
I think say Trolls, we have spent, and I don't know if everyone realizes this, and especially I would think Bob is only one of this podcast that would matter to, but I think even his is a little too young. You cannot buy Trolls World Tour, the new Trolls. You have to rent it.
Oh, really? That's bullshit.
You rent it, you have it for 48 hours for $20. We have
You
spent
rent it for $20? It's $20 you rent, you don't even get to keep it?
Yes.
Oh, what bullshit that is.
$80.
You got to think about if you were going to a movie theater, you'd be spending a lot more than $20. So I get the logic.
Did you see
the
Venom from AMC over this deal? AMC has banned Universal Pictures from their movie theaters because of Trolls.
Wait, so is this a movie that was like coming out?
Yes.
Or is it
right.
It's the big It's got your girl Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake, and who's the new girl? Like, isn't there somebody new in this that's famous?
Yeah, she's. I don't know if she's famous or not. She's like the main bad, I guess antagonist in this one is a girl that's like a rock troll, and I have tried to explain to Lainey multiple times that I do not like the way the rock crowd is portrayed in this movie. So I have had some real beef with this. I mean, it's a very negative connotation of rock people. They're all either stupid or mean. And it's just, I'm very, very against it. Of course, Tiffany, being a pop chick, she's feeling it. But I have tried to explain to Lainey.
Was that me or was that Josh?
Me? I can hear you, Bob. I cannot. Okay. I don't know if Carey and Josh fell off. What happened?
Can you hear Josh?
They're still talking, thinking that we're there.
Bob, can you hear Josh?
I'm going to DM him.
Bob. Where did Bob go? God damn it, the podcast is falling. The quarantine finally ruined the podcast. So Bob is gone now? We just... Oh.
That's really strange. Yeah, it's just me and you on the call right now.
Hold on. Eddie, I can hear you.
No,
okay,
there's Josh.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Might have been my fault. We'll move on.
Okay.
There was a button that was pushed that I didn't notice. Yeah, Josh was talking about, he's mad about the way that rock trolls were portrayed poorly on Trolls. Was it called World Tour?
Yep, that's exactly right.
But Eddie, did you hear the stuff about having to pay $20 to rent this thing over and over again?
Yeah, that's insane. that is some type of highway robbery that Hollywood, who probably engineered the coronavirus, is probably in charge of. This all comes back to Tom Hanks. I guarantee it.
Can I tell you?
There's no way you can record it. You can't record it somehow.
So there are two funny storylines that have come out of this. My wife and oldest child are considering bootlegging over this situation because
there you go. Yep.
Tiffany was like, "You have that nice camera. We could just set it up in the living room and record the screen." And I was like, "It's not a bad idea. We can do that."
Like the Seinfeld episode.
Exactly.
Like when Kramer is bootlegging movies.
So Lainey overheard us, and we kind of we had to explain to Lainey what bootlegging was, and then Lainey starts recording other shows off of her sister's iPad.
God.
So Layla will be watching something, and Lainey's like, well, I want to watch this later. So she's recording stuff on her iPad.
You raised a bootlegger. Oh, my God. Next thing she's
George, he's the bad boy.
Next thing you know, she's gonna be bootlegging moonshine out of the back of her hot rodded NASCAR.
It's not everybody that breaks the law with like a unicorn on their shirt, but you know what? If somebody's gonna do it, it's Lainey.
That's an amazing story. So did you actually record it then?
No, that's the worst part. If we're gonna do it, we've got to kick in another 20. Oh my God! It expired before I realized it was. I
understand why you, above everyone else, was wondering when your paycheck was going in this month.
Dude, it is no small thing keeping the Trolls World Tour.
Yeah, but, it happened again.
Bob's not wrong. Like, so you figure like to go to a movie, the whole just tickets alone for the four of us are going to be $30, probably 35. Plus popcorn, drinks, everything like that. Don't get me wrong. At 100, we've given Universal some of our money, but it's not as bad as like I kept having to tell myself. I was like, we're not having to go see this at the theater and worry about Layla. And the other joy of the last week is we have begun potty training the little one, and that has been a fucking shit show. So literally at times. So when
did family talk end up being something that I have to monitor now for F-bombs?
I know. You're dropping F-bombs.
That's quarantine. That's quarantine rules, Carey. That's quarantine rules.
You can't judge me, dude. I'm a parent, being a teacher, and a lunch lady. Okay, I got a lot going on.
Well, you have things going on. Eddie has things going on. Because as we talked about before the podcast, I had to get him to shut up because he was ruining perfectly good podcast content. You finally got your crockpot. It's off of back order, and you've used it.
Yeah, I did use it. I used it on Tuesday night, and it was amazing. I made some chicken. I know it doesn't sound like much. I was originally just going to make some shredded chicken. I wanted to start off kind of easy because I don't really know what I'm doing, but it was the most – it's one of those things that I was dreading that was going to happen is I was telling myself, like, why haven't I done this years ago and bought a crock pot? So I'm pretty excited to tackle some bigger and better things. But
you can go for a roast.
Made some chicken last night, made some quesadillas, felt very accomplished about it. And I don't know, we're going to make some breaded chicken tonight. I'm sticking to what I know, and that is grilled chicken in any certain way.
You have a pizza slicer. You sent me a picture of your quesadillas. Do you ever think about cutting those bad boys up a little bit?
I don't have a pizza slicer. They were cut. Yeah, they were cut. I cut them into fours, so
okay.
You would have to see the after, because presentation is everything over here.
By the way, big news in my world. The bidet shows up tomorrow.
I think did you
I don't
talk
know
to
why,
us about this?
I don't know why Josh loves the whole bidet thing so much. He thought it was like the greatest thread that has ever appeared on Sooner Scoop.
The bidet, for the members here that have not read that thread, go find it. It is insanely funny.
I can.
Hook up to where does it go?
You just replace your toilet seat with it.
Right.
Just straight up replace it.
Right. You take it off and you put this one on, and it plugs into the wall because it's got tankless water heating. It has a night light. It has massage mode. It has oscillation. It has everything.
You did some shopping for this, didn't you? You gave it some real time.
See, the thing was okay. First off, I can wipe my own ass. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. I know that was initially the rip on the board, like, oh, he finally got too fat to wipe his own. I can still wipe my own ass, all right? Let's just be clear. I'm tired of the quarantine, worrying about when I can go, rationing my toilet paper, if I'll ever get the toilet paper that I want again, because I don't know if Charmin Ultra Soft is available in high quantities or not. I just don't know. I haven't gone out and looked. But I bought a bunch before all this happened, and I'm kind of guarding it. So I thought, let's check out the bidet world. Like, what if I could go to the bathroom anytime I wanted, not have to worry about rationing toilet paper, and be clean? And that was the only thing I asked on the board. Like, do bidets really work? And people were like, yes. They're fantastic. They'll change your life.
What coach do you think is most likely to have a bidet in his own home? I don't think that Bill Beatembo would, but I could see. I don't know. I'm just throwing a name out there. Maybe like Benny Wiley or somebody.
Do you think Bill would even have a startled face like the first time it happened? He was like, or do you think he could keep the straight face?
I would question if he even knows what a bidet is.
Do you think the bidet user is the same as the hot tub owner? Like they're just a little like European.
There's a strong correlation, yes.
Like a legitimate hot tub, like an outdoor hot tub. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, Because hot tub people, that's kind of a stigma if you're a hot tub person.
It is for sure. I mean, don't we think that there are more hot tubs that go hand in hand with above ground pools than
does it say if God, this is going to get me in so much trouble on the board. Let's say a woman comes over and she sees that I have a bidet. Does that automatically signal that I'm into ass play? Because I haven't thought about this before.
I was going question. I was going to say question.
There were some girls in college that make me feel like I'm not comfortable with this decision for myself.
I think that question.
I've had some girlfriends, yes, that
if make them use the bidet before anything.
And I want to be clear. I have had a girl.
Like it's kind of it's a customary, like instead of taking your shoes off, when you come into my home, I ask you use my bidet.
Like that's the first thing you take them to.
Well, at that point, even aside from the cleanliness issue, she can't shame you for it. You're like, you sat on it. Like you're in the same boat. We're here together.
Well, this one has a special button just for women.
Oh,
to clean you up
front. Is it like a front seat of a nice car that will, like, if you push a button,
it's heated.
Conforms to your ass.
Yeah, it's heated.
But it doesn't have like presets.
Yes, it does. It has double user presets. Yes.
Carey, I'm just going to say on the board, the prostitute jokes are writing themselves at the moment. This is happening.
Well, I think that you kind of get what you pay for in that realm, don't you?
Well, you're the one that has started with your NIL stuff already today and sugars.
Is that not the best idea? I can't wait to see how this unfolds. And let me go ahead and say at the onset of this NIL
name, image, likeness.
I know,
and then it's national letter of intent. Yeah.
It every time that I read it, my brain goes straight to national letter of intent. But the NCAA is going to screw this up. I have no doubt about it. They already kind of have, based on what they sent out this morning in that press release or whatever you want to call it. It's not gonna. I just don't think it's going to be as simple as maybe I even thought it was going to be.
It's, to me, there's a lot of questions I have about it. And I think you start, and let's just say kind of what's out there. This is kind of the news now that we're getting past all of our stupid shit to start the pod. The NCAA has ruled to move forward with name, image, and likeness for student athletes to where they can make money off of their name, their image, or their likeness. Now, that doesn't mean that you get NCAA football because they basically, and this is kind of some bullshit to me, they basically said that group stuff like that is very hard to regulate, meaning they don't want any unions forming over this stuff. Like, they don't want people to mobilize against them. But the other problem I have is you have all these places like Nebraska, in Tennessee is one of them, where they're hiring these middlemen companies to help them with name, image, like. I'm like, how many fingers can you have? How many hands in the cookie jar are you going to have in this thing? Why can't a guy just get $1,000 for being on a car commercial? Like, is this for the schools to make some money off of too? Like, is everybody going to have their hand in this? And it's not just going to be like, they've already said that you can't include the school. Like, if you're on a car commercial, you can't say, this is OU quarterback Spencer Rattler. Like, for Big Red Sports and Imports there. I said it. It's...
Well, he wouldn't have to do the commercial. They'd just give him the money, right?
Right, exactly. I think different ownership now, honestly. So, like, is this going to become a thing where it gets roped into Learfield and IMG and Sooner Sports properties where they're going to their clients and saying, hey, you get a $50,000 package and we'll get you a spokesperson. And then you pay the spokesperson like chump change. And while they're, raking in a $50,000 a year contract. That's my concern.
Yes.
That the athletes are still getting screwed out of this deal.
Yes, that is going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, and I think that on the outset, I think that, kind of what you insinuated, Carey, is the fact that when you originally think of it, it seems pretty simple. It seems like if a local company wants to use, whoever, Ronnie Perkins, Spencer Rattler, whoever you want
could we go and just say we want to pay Spencer Rattler $1,000 to do a podcast every month on Sooner Scoop? Or is it going to be, well, no, he can't do that. You're going to have to advertise through the university and this and that, and then we can let him come on for 5 minutes because he's on our podcast. I mean, that's the shit I see happening.
Yeah, I think that is something that could be out there. And I'm definitely not against the players. I think I've been pretty consistent in that I think that the players should be able to profit some way, somehow. I'm not saying that this is completely wrong. I just think that the universities are going to, and the NCAA more so, are going to do everything in their power to not give any type of power to the player. That's just not going to happen.
Right, yeah. The NCAA in particular.
Yes, and I think they're the biggest players in this, obviously. I think that they're the ones, if you're going to be mad at anybody, don't be mad at the schools. Be mad at the NCAA because they're the ones that are going to screw this thing up royally.
Well, I mean, but guys, think it Carey, you brought up the Spencer Rattler example, and it's a good one. Is that profitable for us to do? If so, then I don't have any problem with that. I mean, I think that's a great idea if it's a profitable venture.
No,
but
I'm saying we would make it profitable. It's just I don't think OU would allow us to do it.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I misunderstood. To me, that's a great idea.
I don't think you can.
Him.
Yeah, I don't think you can just. I don't know. I mean, I would love to think that they're going to have some kind of clearinghouse where companies could call and say, "Hey, how much does it cost to get an athlete to do this?" And they're like,
"Yeah."
And then are they going to be, well, we can't tell you if it's going to be a football player. It'll just be a student athlete here at the university.
Yeah.
What? No, that's not what I'm paying for. I want to pay to have Delarian Turner-Yell do a podcast every week. That to me, I mean, I just worry that the NCAA and colleges in general don't get it, and they're not going to get it. They don't need to be having these middlemen companies that come in and talk about social media. They need to be talking to general managers at radio stations and TV stations and people that actually sell advertising for news organizations for a living. Those are the people they need to be relying on, not these, these guys that got this startup that are already raking in $50,000 a year from the university to help them do this stuff.
And it's terrifying that they haven't already done it. You think that should have been the step before they got here, instead of finding out after the fact, oh, hey, yeah, that's probably a pretty good idea. We should look into that. But I mean, that forethought is necessary for that, and we both know that's not the NCAA's strong suit.
Do you think people are going to be surprised how small that sample size is from an Oklahoma or from an Oklahoma State or Texas or wherever you are? The backup deep snapper is not going to have any interest as far as getting his image paid for as much as maybe the backup or the starting right tackle is going to. And even I think those are going to be small. It's going to be people that people are familiar with. It's going to be the quarterbacks. It's going to be the CeeDee Lambs, the Baker Mayfields of the world. It's not going to be, and I love them, but I just have a hard time thinking that somebody, I don't even know, insert regular starter's name in there. I just don't think that they're going to be seeing as much profit as those other ones. It's
go like Austin Reeves versus any football player.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I mean, in the last 15 years in Oklahoma basketball, there's probably been 3 guys that we could bring on the podcast that would give us some bounce. I mean, Blake,
Trey,
obviously Trey,
Buddy,
Blake, Trey, and Buddy. Maybe even Spangler if you want to take an Oklahoma super hyper local angle.
Yeah, and you'd bring him on once. It wouldn't be a recurring thing, But yeah, I mean, guys, even on the football team, think about the football team. How many guys Do you think we could, like, in kind of like what Carey's mentioning, like a role that they came on once a month or once every couple of weeks or whatever it was, how many guys on that team are really going to give us bounce? I mean, Creed Humphrey might be a first-round pick, and I don't think Creed Humphrey would fill in that role.
But that's the thing, Josh. If you're dealing with like legitimate media companies, they know how to get the bounce. Like we would know how to sell a player podcast. I mean, we can sell podcasts with just us four jackoffs being on it. So we can certainly sell it with Creed Humphrey being on it. Like let people that know how to do this kind of stuff do it instead of worrying about what your damn social media presence is going to bring you.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of wondering if it brings out the creative side in people. Was it the Central Florida kicker?
Right.
That got screwed.
Yeah.
Like you think about like some like Connor McGinnis with the Holder of the Year. That could have been something. Not much, but it could have been something. So I'm kind of.
Can you? I mean, like if you had Austin,
how creative these guys get.
Like if you had Austin Seibert or Gabe Burkich. I mean, all the stuff he's done. Have Gabe Burkich doing weird kicks at a car dealership. Like that'd be a great commercial, and he could get paid for it. I mean, it's inventive, and people would notice. It would be good for Gabe Burkich, and it would be good for the car dealership. I mean, it would benefit, and that's essentially what you have to find, and what we try and find. Like that's one thing I'm always preaching about is this a good fit for us? Is this a good fit for you? It's like like MidFirst Bank. It was a good fit, to sponsor this podcast for them. It was a good thing for us to be partnered with them. It's like you have to go out there and find that. And I just don't. I think they're going to get too many hands in the cookie jar, and this isn't going to benefit anybody because it's going to be piecemeal together to where athletes don't really get what they can.
Yeah, and at its core, I think that what the NCAA looks at it as is they're trying to help the Donna De La Hayes of the world, the Central Florida kicker that was ruled ineligible. I think their biggest fear is actually players going out and making money off of their name, image, and likeness from a company. Don't you think? Like, I think they're more worried about, and what they set out to do is try and get that to be okay if a guy has a company, if the guy has something that he's making money off of, to be able to still make that money even though he's a student, a D1 student athlete. It's not the quarterback that becomes a spokesman for whatever car lot out there.
Well, here's the thing. Alabama is going to come up with a system that pays their players as much as anybody. It's going to be a point of bragging, of recruiting, bulletin point. I mean, teams are going to be saying, this is how much money our athletes made off of name, image, likeness last year. Like it's going to be an arms race. So for Lincoln Riley, if you're Lincoln Riley, you want to set this up to where your players can make a bunch of money. You don't want to hear crap from, the athletic directors. And I'm not saying pointing to Joe Castiglione because he's been on top of this stuff forever, but you don't want this to get to some convoluted bunch of red tape stuff where it really doesn't benefit anybody except for the school once again. Like, this needs to be something that the players can have where they can be successful and not caught up in a bunch of red tape, like I said, where everybody else is getting a piece of the action. Because ultimately, it's going to be a recruiting tool for OU football. That's what this comes down to. Just like, you think Alabama is thinking anything else than that? You think Tennessee's thinking anything else than that?
Oh, I mean, Ohio State's already sending out stuff.
Show up in Tuscaloosa and Starkville and Oxford and Fayetteville. I would imagine quite a bit.
You said Ohio State's already doing some stuff, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, nothing like serious, but like they're already like showing like pictures of Columbus and like trying to market it, like, oh, big city, go anywhere from here, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I think whatever you will of Columbus, but I mean, at least they're being proactive with it. So
they'll do this. They will sell the shit out of Austin. Are you kidding me?
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Yep. I mean, it's one of the things that Oklahoma has. At least Oklahoma City's nearby. I mean, a lot of these college towns, there's nothing major. I mean, anywhere near them. So at least Oklahoma City is just kind of a stone's throw, so they can use that and not be totally ridiculous in doing so.
I mean, there's going to be some really awful things that happen out of this. Like, people are going to be asked to do commercials that are terrible at doing commercials, or they're going to ask someone to be like an MC for a big festival or something, and they're just going to die on the vine. I mean, there's probably going to be some figuring out exactly what works and doesn't work and what's good and what's not good. But it's kind of like if Adrian Peterson were around this day and age, like people on the board were saying, give an athlete and then give what he was gonna, what would be a good sponsorship match. And my demented mind thought Adrian Peterson all day boner pills. I didn't put that on the board though.
Better than a belt company coming through.
Oh,
better than a what company?
Belt.
Oh my God.
Bob,
yeah.
I didn't.
Wait a minute, what?
Nobody heard Eddie.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all works out. And, I think that what do they have? I guess basically 8 months to figure it out, because the vote isn't going to necessarily come about until January of 2021. So I would imagine that they're going to figure a lot of things out in between now and then. I just don't. I guess the best way to say it is I don't have any faith that the NCAA has enough people up there that can figure it out.
Like, does anybody think that this is going to go well, especially at the start? Like, they're going to have to be checked by the public. They're going to have all kinds of, they're going to make decisions. It's going to get blowback. They're going to make other decisions. They're going to get crucified. And eventually they'll stop doing stupid shit. But there's going to be a lot of stupid shit that happens at the beginning of this thing where people are just like, this is not what it should be.
Yeah, we talk about as much football as we talk about. I think that it's pretty obvious that the acceleration of trying to get this approved has a lot to do with what the G League's doing right now, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, but, there is no indication that obviously in basketball it's connected, but, we all know football is primarily the NCAA's breadwinner. I mean, that's where most of the money comes from.
We know that right now. More than ever, we know that right now.
And, there's no indication the NFL has any interest in developing any sort of minor leagues or developmental, because it's not cost prohibitive. The developmental leagues can use damn high school gyms, and and they don't necessarily, at least not always, but they don't have to invest the kind of money for football to have the huge rosters and all the equipment and the safety concerns and all the insurance liability. It's just the cost is extreme. So I don't think it's as easily done, but I totally get it's absolutely reactionary, which is what the NCAA does, guys. We're talking about there's going to be some walls are going to crash in the beginning. The start might be rocky, kind of like, it took 60 years to figure out the bowl system might not be the best way to figure out a national champion. And then 17 editions later, we got to the playoffs. So, it's going to happen. Just give it 65 years. The NCAA will figure this out perfectly, and it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering what direction OU goes, because we're all talking, be a spokesperson for car dealerships or whatever, but we've seen what their recruiting staff and graphic design team has been gearing toward, and that's their own individual brand. We saw that on signing day. So I wonder how that will conflict, or how that's going to work with in terms of trying to integrate them into companies that are already there, or trying to make them into their own little mini companies.
I think that's interesting, Bob, because that's where you get into what kind of Carey was talking about is, what's to say a third party that OU hires, or whatever school hires, doesn't know that, OU or, whatever school I work for already has a relationship with, whatever company. Why don't we just push them in that direction, and everybody wins in that case? And I think that is far from what they want in the spirit of kind of passing the legislation, right?
Yeah, you're using your players as a commodity to sell advertising in that situation.
Exactly.
When to me, what this should be about is players just being able to profit off themselves without any kind of strings attached. But I don't know that that's ever going to happen. I really don't. Not to the extent that it could or should.
Yeah. It's kind of a scary slope, and I think that, in a way, I would just like to know what the universities think of this as far as, is it something that aids them, or is it something that they're going to have to basically break their back to make work?
I read the article on The Athletic that David Ubben wrote about Tennessee. It was about, the firm that they'd hired that they're paying between $10,000 to $50,000. I guarantee it's more like $50,000. And they were so they were so hyper focused on kids being able to post pictures of themselves on their social media channels. Like, I was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, how does that make any sense to kids being able to make money off of themselves? Like, okay, great, they can post pictures, they can, like, is this, like you guys said, is this about building your own personal brand? Or is this actually about getting to be able to take advantage of opportunities that you should be able to take advantage of, which is being the face or, being a sponsorship or, I mean, I know they won't kick out Jason White as the air conditioning guy and, in favor of, a new player every year, but, just stupid little thing. I mean, to me, worrying about, making money off your social channels, like that's such a small part of it for most of these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that Buki has that massive Instagram following. Like, that's kind of like, is he really going to be able to make $100,000 because he has all those Instagram followers? I don't think so. I don't think there's anybody that can do that for him.
I think it's going to also be interesting is, say you get a 5-star kid and you strike up a deal with him right as he comes out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
What if he, for a lack of a better term, what if the kid sucks?
Yep.
And he's a bust? Do they go back?
I think that too. Yeah.
Do they go back after a freshman season in which maybe the coach halfway through the season, he plays 3 games and he says, you know what, we're going to redshirt you, man. You're not going to play the rest of the year. Does he still get that money for the rest of the semester? Are they paying him per commercial? I think those are all really interesting questions.
Well, it also opens up another thing, which, I'm not complaining about this. I did it to myself, but it's like I was joking around doing the redneck thing about Spencer Rattler in his, behind the back catches and stuff like that, and he blocked me because he thought I was being serious, which is fine. But, like, if you're a player and you're using your social media channel to make money off of, then you can't be blocking people and you can't be, you can't be a real person on social media then. You can't be in your feelings, all that stuff. And you have to deal with people talking shit to you after you have a bad game now. Like, you can't just ignore social media if it's become a source of income for you. You can't just, it's hard to just say, oh, I don't mess with social media anymore when you're making money off of it.
A guy goes out, has a bad game, he's getting a bunch of hell on social media, tells everybody to fuck off, and then they go, you know what? We're not going to use that brand anymore. We're not using that product.
You're losing your sponsorship.
Those are
Tiger Woodsing you.
Slopes.
Was it Kobe lost Sprite? I know Tiger lost Tudor watches and some other stuff.
Of course you remember the watches.
Well, he had his own damn watch. They had a Tiger Woods Tudor. It's a badass watch. I'd still take one.
So you support, him just cheating on his wife? Is that what you're saying here, Carey?
I don't have a wife. I don't care.
Oh, shit.
Nobody's here to yell at me for supporting Tiger.
Tiffany's looking over my shoulder. I've got to go.
No, but I mean, it does open up when you start making it all about social media marketing. Like, it makes it to where you can't close that stuff off. I don't know if that's a good thing for players. Certain players particularly. I mean, a freshman quarterback like Spencer Rattler who hasn't ever started a game, and he's going to go. I mean, Fox used his picture on their graphic about this. Like, he hasn't even started a game. He's a Heisman Trophy favorite, like top 4 or 5 in Vegas, when you can bet again, I guess. And, like, he's going into the season with all this pressure. Like, he blocked me for being a stupid redneck, parody on his site. Like, That's a lot of pressure for those kids.
Speaking of, has anybody contacted MGM to see where Tanner Mordecai is in those rankings?
He's not on them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we should send out feelers to that.
Yeah.
This is a question for Josh and Bob. How big do you think that would become in the recruiting world as far as selling? Like, I almost feel like, we talk about Oklahoma needing a bigger recruiting staff. I feel like that's an entire new division inside the recruiting offices.
Well, that's why they're paying these companies $50,000 a year to come in and run that stuff for them.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So those are that's more geared to the recruiting side of it as opposed to the actual team side, or is it kind of all encompassing?
I think you have to kind of keep it separated. Like, you still have your team focus and your recruiting focus, and then you have a separate division that handles player marketing.
Yeah. I mean, you'd almost have to have people kind of using the data that's available. Okay, our guys are getting, our starting 11 on offense averaged, $4,000 a month last year in advertising or something. Whatever the number may be. But you'd have to have some way to – you'd have to find some way to present it. And again, I want to be clear. I don't think the numbers are going to be as daunting as everybody – like, everybody's got in their head like everybody's going to make $50,000. I'm like, that's not going to happen, guys. I had something else that I was going to –
I don't think that anything will ever top revenue-wise of what EA Sports was doing. I really don't. I don't think there's anything else. By the way, it also said replica jerseys would not be allowed. Like, that's some bullshit right there because they've been doing that forever.
Well,
I mean,
it's not like – what, do you mean like replicas with names on them?
Yes.
Why could you not do that?
They said that you can't because
would it be because it's a close affiliation with the school?
Because it needs
the school own the jersey.
Well, that's part of it. It's like you can't have the school can't be part of your advertise like conveniently, right? Like they can't use like if you do a car ad, you can't say I'm OU quarterback Spencer Rattler. He just has to go on there and be like, when I take the field with my teammates.
For such and such team that doesn't exist.
But that's so stupid. Like OU, obviously OU would get a cut of that. Like they produced the jersey, like Spencer sewed it himself. That's just cutting off your nose to spite
they don't
your
get
face.
a cut of it. They get all of it. That's the way it's been
that's
going.
What I'm saying. What I'm saying is going forward, obviously Spencer would get a cut of it, but you're still getting something, which is better than nothing.
You can still buy a goddamn Baker Mayfield jersey in our Fanatic store in the rival shop. I'm pretty sure.
We need to start taking lists, and I encourage everybody to continue buying the Baker Mayfield jersey out of the Fanatic store on Rivals.com. But we need to start making a list of those people and possibly just keeping tabs on them in case anybody goes missing or in case, Emily Mayfield goes missing before a Monday night game or something. God forbid.
What are you doing right now?
Eddie's been watching Selena under quarantine. He's concerned.
Those people can't be trusted, is what I'm saying.
They haven't moved on.
The people that are buying the Baker Mayfield jerseys, you mean?
But I encourage everybody to continue.
So still do it, yes. Does it have his name on it, or is it just a 6?
I think it's just a 6.
Just a 6.
And it's an Antoine Savage jersey. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what
or
they
maybe a Trey
that's what they tell
Brown.
you.
Maybe a Trey Brown jersey.
Okay, I'm going to the Rivals fan shop. Men.
We're not selling Baker Mayfield jerseys, Carey. We're selling Trey Brown jerseys.
Boom.
Get him, Trey. To be fair, Bob and I were beating the drum for that guy for a while, so at least Rivals can claim that's a Trey Brown jersey.
You can get a number 2. You can get a number 1 with Murray on the back of it.
Murray?
You can get an 11 basketball jersey with Young on the back. You can get a 5 with Brown on the back. Who the hell was 19?
Caleb Kelly.
I don't see a Baker Mayfield one though. There's a CeeDee Lamb and a Kyler Murray, but there's no 6s.
don't know what the scoff was for, Carey. That's a former 5-star recruit. Okay, people are buying
Unless
that jersey.
it was like 2019, like the year they're trying to emphasize, like they do at Media Day.
Yeah, that's true. I thought it was Justin Brown.
I think that's a weird thing to me.
Justin Brown's the only other 19 I can think of. Why is that?
Why am I going? Who's Brown 5? Why am I not picturing
Hollywood?
Marquise.
Oh, obviously. Okay. Yeah, I was like, there's something I'm missing, but I just had a hole in the brain. I couldn't get there.
Basketball 10. Who is that?
Hollis Price.
Boom.
And you get a Blake
Yeah,
Griffin.
that one I can remember, but not Hollywood Brown from 2 years ago. I don't know what the hell
I highly doubt anybody's going in there to buy those. Maybe it's just a Blake Bell throwback basketball team.
from his days in Wichita, KS.
Oh God! All right,
19 could be striker.
Jadon Haselwood. Let's talk about this real quick, and then I want to get into some recruiting stuff. But yeah, we reported that. What was that? Thursday, I guess it would have been Thursday night during the draft.
It's like minutes before Lamb got picked. It was the worst timing ever.
So yeah, I confirmed it right before Lamb. Confirmed it through multiple people, but the one that made me feel like, okay, we can run with this now, it happened right before Lamb, and we didn't really want to make that big of a deal out of it because it wasn't, it was a special night for Lamb and was going to be for Kenneth Murray soon after that, and it's just not really our style. Like, I think Josh could agree with this. Like, it's gotten to that point, and we get jokes about it all the time. Like, that's not something that we'd want to plaster on Twitter. In that situation, because it's basically like, look, this is some really harrowing news. It's for you guys who subscribe to our website, and we just put it on our members only board on the Crimson Corner, and we just kind of left it at that. And then it it started with kind of people didn't want to believe it, and so they tried to say that this was going on, and then I checked back in the next day, and I was like, no, it's torn ACL. And so everybody else has now kind of jumped on board and reported it in different ways. Some crediting us, some not. But
which of your checks are signed by Rivals.com? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, that's kind of Bush, I would say. Anyway.
When you're rewriting stories all day, you might get confused.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Jadon Haselwood, he's out. And torn ACL is not going to be a quick recovery. And here's the other thing about that, and I don't know. I bet Lincoln won't even address this or even acknowledge it because he's terrible. He's so much worse talking about, like, at least when Bob was around, if you called him on an injury, he would acknowledge it and talk about it. Lincoln won't do that. He won't even acknowledge what type of injury someone has when they have an injury.
Lower body injury of some sort. Okay.
Somewhere below his jaw.
It's very frustrating, but at the same time, it doesn't make me feel bad when we have to break that kind of news either. But my question is, like, with this going on right now, and he's got a good family and everything, and I'm sure they're watching out for him, but and I'm sure the coaches are trying to do as much as they can, but, like, how much rehab can you really get if you're going through? Because I know I've read some articles that's a big concern with college coaches, that they have players at home right now who should be going through a strict rehab program, and they don't know if they're really able to keep to that or even get the type of rehab help or care that they need. So it's a really bad time to tear an ACL right now, I would just say.
I mean, my biggest question would be, can you even get in right now to see a doctor or to have a procedure done? I don't believe that you can.
You can.
You?
Yeah, you can.
You can.
That stuff has been they've relaxed the and this wouldn't even be considered elective.
Yeah.
I mean, this would
This is quality of life stuff. Like,
yeah.
This would be effective. I mean, like, he could have done this at the height of everything.
And if he's back home in Georgia, are they one of the states that are opening back up this week?
They are. Yeah, they're already open.
In fact, it hasn't even really been talked about. I haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, they were open since Friday.
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. By the way, I want to get this out there. I don't know how you feel about this, Eddie. I'm not shaming anyone for gathering or doing anything like that. My time has passed. Like, I was all down for let's quarantine. Now that they're trying to open things back, I'm not being judgmental asshole. I'm not doing that. Like, so don't worry. Like, I had an issue with it. I don't have an issue with it now that people are saying that, the ban is lifted. So.
No, I'm right there with you. I'm ready to go. In fact, I would be even as so bold to tell you all that I hung out with some people over the weekend. We had a good time. We observed social distancing, and it was fun. It was good to have interaction with other people again. So, I mean, I'm very positive right now about everything. I'm as positive, I think, as I've been. In fact, I would go as far to say I'm more hopeful that the football season is actually going to start on time today than I have been probably in 3 months.
Yeah.
It feels like 3 months. I know it hasn't been 3 months, but
I'm kind of right there with you. We had the news today about what's it called, Josh? Remdesivir?
Oh yeah, the treatment, yeah, remdesivir or something like there's a few vowels that feel like they should be missing and they're not, so it's weird.
But I mean, Fauci is released. This is not. I want to keep this pod friendly. I'm not going to get medical because I'm not a doctor, but they basically did some tests with this, and what it showed was that it takes, according to Fauci, it takes 11 days for people to recover instead of 15. When they're on this drug, and people still die who are on this drug. So it's not the end all be all, but what was encouraging is that he said, we have proved that, this virus can be slowed by a drug. So his point was, he kind of compared it to AIDS and when they first started getting treatments and it was all over the place. He said, but then when they found one thing, they combined it with something else. And eventually, years went by and they had a treatment. And that's what they're kind of expecting with this.
I noticed you said AIDS, Carey. Is that when two men touch their penises together?
I think you had to get that butt stuff involved for that to happen.
Maybe you need a bidet.
That involves a bidet. Mm-hmm.
It involves bidet owners.
The crazy thing to me is this like groundbreaking news every day when a university, this is the thing that's triggered me when every university has come out and been like, yeah, we plan on having classes in the fall. No shit. Like, why do we keep making that into big news? I would be worried about a university if they weren't planning on having classes in the fall.
Oh, see, I go the other way on that. Like that buoys me a little bit. I'm like, okay. Because I mean,
I'm with Josh.
Eddie, we were talking for like a month about why do they keep canceling stuff? Why are they canceling stuff 3 or 4 months out? Like, just let it play. Like that to me is like they're getting indications that this is gonna like that things are calming. And like I said, it may not be true. It's just same in reverse. I mean, like it may not be true 3 months from now, but for right now, I'm like. That makes me feel good because these are people that are privy to information that I am not privy to. So like I like that to hear that like okay they've got reason to believe that things can find some level of normalcy in the next 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. As long as schools aren't continually doing the doomsday stuff, which seemed to be all we were getting for a while, that they're actually talking about this and. What was it? The University of Oregon is trying to hold open enrollments and stuff so they can make sure kids get into class for this next semester. Like, to me, all of that's encouraging. Now, I'm still not encouraged that fans are going to be in the stands or anything of that sort, but playing football, I feel better about it today than I have since this whole thing started.
Same.
They're gonna. The stadium cannot be as normal. Like I just don't see any way that can happen until there's a vaccine because there's just too many people that are at risk. But I was about of the mind they were going to have to play in empty stadiums. I don't think that's the way it's going to go, but they're going to have to find some middle ground.
Oh, I think they're playing in empty stadiums.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's a lot of revenue to walk away from for them to not try to find some sort of answer.
The baseball stuff makes me hopeful in that, I mean, it seems like that is slowly coming together, that we're going to have a good idea if things keep progressing by I would say middle May. And that is May 1st is in a couple days. So I feel like their hope is that you can maybe get a couple thousand fans into the stadium by the start of the playoffs. And I mean, for colleges, I would imagine you're going to take care of the families before anybody, kind of like they were going to do at the very onset of all this, when they were going to just allow families into the Big 12 tournament. But it's going to be interesting to see here over the next couple months, just if we can continue on this trajectory, in which I think is a positive, and then B, what kind of decisions they make on the back end of it.
You know what I would love to see more than anything right now is if universities came and said, look, we're going to play the games, but the only fans that could come to the games are those with luxury suites. That would drive everyone insane. Plus, you would have all these drunk, rich people just screaming. That's a whole ambiance for the game that you would have.
Do you think they would have to have like security, like let them into the stadium? Like they'd have to have like almost like a walk, like some of the SEC teams do, into the stadium, with like security keeping people back from them being able to go into the stadium, and Joe from Cushing not being able to make it in.
They'd have to have the yellow coats stand out in front of
exactly. Like they couldn't just roll in like from their cars in the nice little parking area. They'd have to. They would need a detail.
I know some people that would get so triggered if that happened, and that's mainly the reason I want to see it happen.
I can think of a few. Some of them might even be in my bloodline. So it's I'm thinking some people would get pretty hot.
I just think it would be fascinating, really.
So Radosvich's name might take a hit from the phone calls to the ticket office if that were to happen.
Oh, boy. Yeah, and I don't know, I'm sure it's not, like baseball is just now starting to refund people. I'm curious how OU handles the whole Sooner Club donation in order to get, season tickets on top of the cost, the face value and stuff like that. Like, because they could kind of just say, oh, that was a donation. We don't have, I didn't know you wanted that back.
I've had a lot of people that have asked me what I thought would happen to, obviously tickets, and then that opens up
the donor fees,
whole new can of worms when you talk about the donor amounts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that is something that the schools are probably planning for, but hoping they never have to even come close to broaching.
Yeah, I mean, it's you've got certain levels that would really kick your ass to give back. And luxury suites would be number one. But, I mean, there's a lot of seating on the west side that people pay a lot of money. I mean, and you think about the money that people donate to be able to be, to get so many OU Texas tickets every year. What a headache this will be. All right, moving on.
That's true. It's just like, for sure. There's not much more you can say at this point. It's going to be a mess.
Okay, so recruiting, the latest there. Josh, maybe you just kind of want to give us an overview of anything that's kind of transpired. I know you guys were talking about before the pod some of these virtual visits that are showing up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know of one. We know of one that's definitely happening today, I think, almost as we speak. I need to check with the kid, but I think that's right. Danny Stutzman out of Winter Garden, Florida. Guy, we've got a story up on him on the front page right now. Kind of perfect timing to have this conversation. But is a guy that OU offered in early March, and I kind of didn't know where that was, but I've had conversations with a few people over the last few weeks, and it is clear that Oklahoma is trying to make it known to this guy that he is a priority. He's having a virtual visit today with Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch, Brian Odom will be involved, obviously, I guess, with Odom. But he is a guy that Oklahoma wants, and from what I'm told, would absolutely take. This is not we kind of like this guy, we'll see where he fits. Like, he's kind of down the line. This is a guy they want, would take. I think they, and then depending on how you look at Kobe McKenzie, I mean, Oklahoma could have their 2 linebacker commits, and from what I understand, if they took another one, it would be, kind of, it's a guy we can't say no to kind of situation. Like, I would think Kendall Daniels probably still fits into that. The Smale Munden kid that I've talked about from Georgia would definitely fit into that. But, I mean, there is not just we're going to take a third guy. It's going to be a dude if they're going to take a third guy.
You wonder if Kobe McKenzie can be 2021 after everything that's going on. With the way schools have shut down and stuff of that nature. Can he get the coursework in at all to even try to make that happen?
He has got to be excited that like we were just talking about, it seems like things are starting to calm down and everybody's not being like, well, we're punting till 3 months from now. Like everybody's starting to say, oh, okay, like we can maybe start doing some things. And, you think about he's obviously going to have to take a bunch of summer courses during this upcoming summer. Well, if he does them online, hey, that should be available to him. Like that, those things, like I've talked about before, I think all those things can work. What I'm interested to see is if he is fully aware of all the course requirements he's going to need to check off. Like that's the thing I don't know because, Oklahoma's, counseling department, they're not there. I mean, there's no one there to field those phone calls or emails or whatever. So how does that get communicated? Had it already been done? I mean, you don't know how far down the road Kobe was, and I've talked to him and his dad a little bit about it, and it's like I said, I always get the impression that maybe I don't even want to say I got the impression. His dad clearly had told me it was something they'd kind of discussed and they had kind of started to lay the groundwork for, but I don't think everybody in the family was ready for Kobe to make that announcement when he made it. And so I don't know if they had been able to check every box that they needed to before they really, okay, now we're dug in, now we're going to do this. We know what path we have to take. I don't think that existed. So now they're trying to kind of work their way through it. And obviously the weeds are everywhere because there's so much that is just making it less convenient than it would have been a year ago at the same point.
Breaking news. I don't know if you guys are ready for this. CeeDee Lamb has just posted 4 minutes ago. My journey with the @Dallas Cowboys is just getting started, but I know I already have a competitive edge. My @Sleep Number 360 smart bed.
Yeah, he had a
Z's
Sleep Number
emoji.
Commercial.
Hashtag ad.
Yesterday.
Hashtag smarter sleep.
I
made
thought
it.
he was.
Our boy's grown up.
I thought he was going to give me credit for all those games I came to in high school. He's like, I know this couldn't have happened without Josh McCuistion there to videotape all the crazy things I did.
Since I'm already blocked, I had no problem quote tweeting. Can't wait to see Spencer Rattler's My Pillow ad.
It would have been great, Josh, if he would have said, since he didn't sleep on me, I'm not going to sleep on him. That's why I'm giving Josh McCuistion a new bed.
Yeah, can you imagine Josh just starts using his monthly salary to get people to promote him?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Ooh.
Hey, the one guy I don't have to pay is Gerald McCoy. That dude came back at me again during the draft. It was like the one thing that buoyed me from CeeDee Lamb going to the Dallas Cowboys. I got to enjoy Gerald again giving me a little love, and I'm like, dude, not necessary. But
you think you could use some of that pool and get him on the pod or something sometime?
I've never asked. I bet Gerald would do it. I mean, Gerald loves talk OU football, so I don't think there'd be a big problem. I know Dad would do it. I know he'd come on with you, Carey. So, but no, I mean, if we found the time, I bet you Gerald would do it.
We get Gerald and GK on at the same time. That'd be good.
There we go. Oh Lord, we wouldn't even need to talk. We
would never. We wouldn't have to say anything. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you and Bob can work on that on the pod together that you haven't put together yet. That everybody wants you to.
Wow.
Ooh,
yeah,
shots fired.
Wow, that was aggressive. That wasn't even passive aggressive. That was just aggressive.
Yeah, I don't passively aggress.
Look, Josh, do we know what these virtual visits are like? Or are we just gonna figure it out as we go along here.
Yeah, I don't, and that's kind of something I've tried to get a answer on. And obviously it's going to differ from kid to kid, depending on who's going to be involved with it, what they're going to do. But I thought, and we kind of went around it. Keon Coleman tweeted out a kind of interesting graphic today where Bob and I both had the same thought. Like, it just looked like a normal, okay, hey, OU's great, kind of me wearing an OU jersey on the field or whatever. It looked like a standard graphic kind of edit thing. But then it had a date on it. And you're like, well, why would you date that? And Bob and I went to the same place. Like, I wonder if he's doing one too. So that's kind of the thing, because I've checked with a lot of guys. Like, I've talked to Bryce Foster, and Bryce Foster was like, no, hadn't even come up yet. So I don't know. I really think this is something they may be doing with guys they think they could close on. I think Danny Stutzman's pretty close. And if you told me this time next week we're talking about his commitment, it wouldn't shock me. So I'm wondering if they're trying to make that an important thing, kind of like, like we talked about the spring game, like not just bringing every dude in, but focusing on guys that you really can, kind of start to, applying pressure, not the right word, but just letting them know, hey, man, we want you in this class, but we can't wait forever, kind of thing.
I turned myself off. I was trying to let Bob shine.
Oh, well, because Tennessee's going to take them all, because they're the latest school that's getting all these.
God, do you know how many of my friends?
Out of nowhere.
You know how many friends have just randomly texted me like, "Why is Tennessee signing people a weekend?"
Well, let me say there's two huge things here for Tennessee: on-field success and all the NFL draft picks. Is it a bigger? One of the biggest draft traditions has literally become laughing at Texas during the draft. When they had to get, A&M and UT's biggest excitement this year was a couple of third-round picks. That was what got their juices going, and had Billy Lucci just talking up a storm.
Did he really?
Oh, did you? Oh, no, I subtweeted the hell out of him because he was he's so busy recruiting Bryce Foster.
Oh God, I can only imagine.
He's like, well, look at the league and the offensive linemen they've produced and blah, 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 blah. And then he talks about all the NFL offensive linemen A&M produced. None of those guys played for anybody on the current staff. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like the Matthews kid? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's
Isn't he retired?
That's like OU claiming Trent Williams. Don't get me wrong, Trent Williams came from OU, but Bill Bedenbaugh and Trent Williams probably wouldn't know each other if they walked by each other in a hall. It's not like that.
It's closer though, because at least Bill came in.
There is continuity.
Bill
sure.
came in with Darrell Williams and Tyrus Thompson, which were the guys that followed him up.
And he had some relationship there. He worked with Gabe. There are NFL guys even before this latest round that he at least had a hand in. But the current offensive line coach at A&M's been there for about I think this is his first year. Is it the It's the guy that used to be at Henson, the guy that was at Oklahoma State. Is this year one for
Josh
him?
Henson.
Did he just come over, or is this?
It's been a couple of years.
He was down there for last year was his first year in College Station, Josh.
Yeah, but you can't sit there and that's the more hilarious part of it is he's running down offensive line play in the Big 12 and touting A&M when A&M hired a Big 12 offensive line coach. What are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. But I guess this is my weekly A&M fans are crazy rant. So
I'll sign up for the Billy Lucci rant every week if you want to do it.
Like I said, it was something about, well, look at all the linemen the SEC has produced and look at the rest of the league. Iron sharpens iron, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I tweeted something like, if you're having to talk about the fact that your conference is great, you're probably not very relevant in that conference. And that's the fact of the matter. A&M what's the comparable? For the SEC East. It's not Georgia. It's not Florida. Who are they? Are they South Carolina of the SEC West?
Yeah, that's a pretty decent example.
Yeah,
except they're
probably
little
bit.
They play teams a little bit tougher than South Carolina does.
Yeah. No, they lose really well. They're very good at it.
That's true.
But
and they're very proud of how well they lose.
Yeah, no, I mean, they didn't get, completely annihilated by LSU like Oklahoma did, but of course, they didn't go anywhere. They played they weren't even in the Alamo Bowl, were they? What bowl was that?
They played OSU in the Texas Bowl, right?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's the Texas Bowl. Yeah, there's a win. God, what recruit doesn't want to be part of that? Hey, that's a perfect point, guys. I'd like to say there is a point when playing in the playoff is better than just any bowl game. I'm not saying.
God. Is this like 4 years ago all of a sudden?
I am all for OU not playing in the playoff to win a good, BCS level game. But if it's in the playoff or, the Poinsettia, Poulan Weed Eater Bowl, I'll pass.
I think it's just the San Diego Credit Union Bowl now.
That's just so sad. Remember it was a Holiday Bowl? That was great. Why was that always so good?
Because it was Pac-10, Big 12.
Those games were always good.
Yeah. Well, it was the second best Pac-10 team that didn't go to the Rose Bowl. So you were always playing a pretty good team.
Well, it's like that year. That was the Bomar year that OU had no business beating that Oregon team and just kind of found a way to do it.
Who was the quarterback for that? Was that when Dixon got hurt? That was when Dixon was just a pup, right? Or was that after he got hurt against Arizona that year? Was that the year before? That would have been the year before. No, that would have been the year after they lost up there, right? Oklahoma lost in Eugene. Because they beat them in 04. OU lost in Eugene in 06, so the next year they lost.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. So, I don't
Brady Leaf was their quarterback, but Dennis Dixon was on that team, yeah.
That name has faded from memory.
And I'm gutless because I thought I wasn't a Leaf kid, but I was too afraid to say it. No credit.
Can't count it, Bob. Nope.
Bob
doesn't count.
Anybody else in this podcast, I'd be like, "You're full of shit." Bob, I'm like, Bob remembered. He just I totally believe that storyline. But Carey's right. It still doesn't.
You know what, Bob? People don't care if you're right. They just care if you're first.
You can finish second. You can finish third. Hell, you can finish fourth.
That was like breaking news on our message board, all wrapped up into one thing. Anything else on recruiting that you wanted to hit on, Josh?
I know there's something I'm overlooking.
I don't know, Josh. It was a pretty tame week so far.
It has been. I will say I have continued to talk to some various people. I don't know I can't remember how much we got into Christian Leary last weekend. Christian Leary has announced he's going to announce on June 6th. I like where Oklahoma is. I've heard talk of like Alabama and some other schools, and I keep hearing it's OU in Florida. That it's going to be him staying closer to home or him going to Oklahoma. Don't get me wrong, I would never write off Alabama. I would never write off some of the other big programs involved with him. I just keep hearing those are the two schools that stand out. It sounds like Florida has some confidence. I mean, I don't want to. People are going to read that and hear, Florida thinks they've got him. It's not what I'm saying. They feel like they're in the race. Like they feel like they're right there. They are very, from what the people I've talked to, Oklahoma is their primary concern. They think Oklahoma is very real as a threat. Obviously, Oklahoma can sell 2 straight, first-round wide receivers. Florida hasn't, for all the talent Florida recruits, they haven't produced many receivers as of late. I mean, Van Jefferson is kind of the best of the lot to this point. I mean, Van Jefferson's a good player, but not quite of the same notoriety to a high school recruit as CeeDee Lamb. And so I think he's the guy to follow. I continue to hear good things about Caleb Williams. I still think Oklahoma likes where they're at with him. And I like I said, as we're seeing things starting to relax, you can start if these guys can just get to some campuses. I think you'll see the chips start to fall pretty fast. Like I think there are just guys that either A, want to see Oklahoma, or B, want to go see a couple of other schools, kind of make sure that their mind is where they think it is, and then be done with it. I think a lot of these guys, with all that's happened at Ohio State and USC and North Carolina, we mentioned Tennessee, these guys know at some of the big program spots are starting to fill up, and if you waste time, you're going to miss out on the opportunity you want. So I think guys, they don't want to rush it and do something foolish, but at the same time, they know that, you don't know how long these open windows are going to last. So I think you'll see guys taking some trips this summer.
Speaking of Florida quarterbacks, I forgot that Felipe Franks transferred to Arkansas.
That Arkansas roster's
there's a reason they haven't had a lot of great receivers. Their quarterback has been atrocious.
Oh, it's been. When you lose a guy and then he transfers to, where did Ty Story go? Was it
Western Kentucky?
Yes, and then comes in and kicks your ass. That's sad.
No, I'm talking about Florida, not Arkansas.
Then he went back to Fayetteville and beat Arkansas last year.
Yep. No, I thought
you were going to say Will Greer. They actually had Will Greer on their campus and transferred to West Virginia.
Well, it was refreshing, that that Florida, after years of Urban Meyer, was like, listen here, we're going to follow the rules pretty closely, and Will Greer can't be here. We've had Chris Rainey and his whole crew doing God knows what, Aaron Hernandez, but this guy that's, what was it like? Was it steroids, like something like that?
It was PEDs, yeah.
Yeah, like we can't have that guy on campus. But the guys that are running around, hurting women, we can make that okay. That's going to be fine. But PEDs, you got to go, Will Greer.
I'm sorry, Bob, I interrupted you there. You're going to bring up one more thing, I think, about recruiting.
Well, I think that was one of the minor things maybe we were overlooking, Josh. Caleb Williams did say Saturday night that he's looking to narrow it down again. I don't know what that's going to mean. Does that mean the top 3 coming up or something? But that was a big announcement that he had over the weekend, that he's getting closer and closer. And I don't know. It continues to be a waiting game on that front. You can tell some OU fans don't care about getting closer and closer as they keep watching the other schools do what they've been able to do.
Well, and I think that in a way, too, don't you guys think that we're basically – Sports Illustrated is kind of pulling the strings on this whole thing, or at least it seems like from the outside looking in.
Like he's committed to it, and he has to stay committed to the whole bit, basically.
That once he commits, that blog's going to be useless. No one's going to care except the school that he goes to. And we mentioned that like a month ago. It's like, is this going to be – because I don't remember Buki's really well when he had the USA Today thing, but I don't know if the appeal is just, that he's lingering out there, that he's not committed, and what's going to happen when he does commit. And so it was a question I brought up last month, and the way that Caleb kind of pumps it up every Monday, it gives you some thought that maybe there's legitimate truth in there.
You just scared everyone by bringing up the fact that Buki had a diary last year or 2 years ago. It just never, I don't know, why it never works out. It's commitment videos, it's recruiting diaries, it's like a curse. It's unbelievable.
It hasn't gone well, Carey. When you first started bringing it up, I was like, Carey, you sound old. But now I'm like, he's not wrong. Like, you look at the track record of guys who've done the video. I mean, look on OU's roster. Who's like Adrian Ely's probably the one that has gone the best so far of the guys that made videos.
It's still funny because he didn't know what Reservoir Dogs was. He just went along with the concept.
Because it was one, I was like, oh, that's cool. I love Dogs. That's a great movie.
I thought he was Goodfellas. Was he not going in the back of the restaurant and all that stuff?
No, was Goodfellas?
I don't remember that one. Yeah, because he had like the Mr. Pink, the Mr. Blue. He had all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
But yeah, there was a Goodfellas one, Carey, and I can't remember who it was, and that probably again feeds to your thing, because if it was any good, we'd remember it.
Jadon Davis is on track. He did one, didn't he?
Yep. Yeah, he did.
But maybe that's the reason he faded last year.
Man.
Because he was on like a jet ski or something, too.
Right, yeah.
He was the Tiger King guy before the Tiger King guy was.
Seriously, how many of the videos when they start coming back out are going to have some sort of like either VR tiger? Like there's something going to be on there that's fucking.
Bob, I will throw this to you because of your Chicago roots. What has been the best Last Dance episode for you so far?
Oh, the last 30 minutes of episode 4. I've already watched it like 4 or 5 times this week. Oh, fuck Isaiah Thomas. Oh, man.
Wow! We got an F-bomb!
Oh,
We got an
dude,
F-bomb out of Bob
Don't you
Przybylo.
dare edit that. Don't you dare edit that.
I can't
that
believe it
fake
happened.
ass smile he has
all
the time. He doesn't realize everyone hates him. Everyone thinks he's a piece of shit. No one from Chicago thinks of him as their hero. Jordan is the guy. He eclipsed them long before. Jordan and Magic froze him out of the dream team, and he still doesn't get it. It's glorious. That last 30 minutes, Horace Grant calling him straight up bitches. Jordan saying, I don't give a shit what video you show me because I know he was an asshole, and I know he's just changing his thoughts because 30 years later he's still being crucified about it. Oh, my God. The last 30 minets of Sunday was incredible.
That is the greatest Bob I've ever heard
Sounds
in
like,
my whole
it sounds like
life.
it was
Shit.
orgasmic. That was orgasmic. That was.
Holy hell.
I thought that was like a
That was-
ball
that's
inside of Bob that just exploded. It had to come out. He could wait no longer.
Holy crap. I'm
I put
beside
it out on
myself.
Twitter, it was just, it was just great.
No, it's been pathetic how he's also been trying to still cover up for this stuff. Like he's been going on Get Up and all this stuff and doing all these interviews because he looks so bad.
Well, I don't understand it. Like,
get it.
you guys were the bad boys. Just own it. Like, we were just like, fuck y'all. Like, and left. Like, that's.
Yep.
I'd be way more okay with that than the tired, like, that's how we did it. No, it's. Stop that. That's a joke.
I really like that. I did love the Dennis Rodman. We'll give you 48 hours in Vegas. That was fantastic. And the fact
needs
that
to be its
Carmen
own
Electra
special.
is willing to be interviewed for all that stuff, and I'm so glad that
Still a
Madonna
smoke
wasn't.
show.
Yeah, she's still really hot.
Carmen Electra, yeah, like you said, she still got the fastball and then some.
She's got a good plastic surgeon, man.
Something's going on. Did you guys hear the story that Billy Corgan told on Joe Rogan about he was traveling around with the Bulls in '97 during the finals, and
That is so. I hope this makes it into the Last Dance at some point.
Rodman went to Vegas on an off day in between games in Utah.
Makes sense.
They fly out to get the night of the game, or the night after the game. They fly out, party all night, come back on a private plane for the shoot-around. After the shoot-around, it's their off day. Before, I think it's game 5 of the finals, Rodman tells Billy Corgan, like, let's go back. And they take a commercial flight. Rodman takes a commercial flight. Corgan doesn't go with them. Ends up running into Phil Jackson. And I guess at the time, Billy Corgan was kind of keeping Rodman on the straight and narrow. And he tells this story about, like, running into Phil Jackson and his family and how intimidating it was because Phil Jackson knew that by seeing Corgan, he knew that Rodman was getting into trouble somewhere. It's a great interview. It's on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, that's the days of the 2-3-2 format. So, yeah, you got 3 games in Utah straight. And because of TV, they're spaced out 2-3 days apart. So, yeah, definitely makes sense.
Yeah, but I loved how it, gave the Bulls perspective of playing the Pistons because everybody watched the 30-30. It was one of the best ones they ever did, the Bad Boys. But, as a kid growing up watching Jordan, I loved watching him, I loved watching that clash and that he couldn't get over that hump and then he finally did. It was one of my favorite things I've ever seen on film is just being able to retell that period of NBA basketball history.
And then those sorry shits could never mount another challenge. Because we beat you 3 years. Yeah, and then when we swept your ass, you never got good enough to even come close to contending again. You're done. Go home.
I am fine if you bleep every F I've ever said and ever say in the future. You leave Bob's F the hell alone.
I'm going to have to because people on Twitter, now that they've heard that it's happened, they don't want it bleeped. So I'm sorry, earmuff kids, that we ruined your lives. Sorry, parents.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Well, I mean,
1990, that's when I'm 6 years old. I'm about to turn 7. Everything's vivid. All these memories are clear. I just remember hating that team so much. Oh, it felt good to go back.
Well, they were just such dickheads. I mean, they just really were. I mean, the whole Jordan rules things was fantastic to hear him talk about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's like, and that's fine. Like, that was their role. Like, I don't understand why now they try to run it back. Like, no, you guys were the bad boys, and that's cool. Like, you had your whole thing, and that's like, it helps you win 2 titles. Like, don't act like it didn't work for you. It did. That's cool. That's great. But now they're like, oh, people make too much. No, you embraced being a dickhead. You don't get to come back and be like, oh, we were just kidding those whole 3-4 years, and we just beat the bejesus out of the whole league.
Well, I saw an interview with Bill Laimbeer that he did on The Jump, and I mean, he was still. I mean, he's still a shithead. I mean, like, he doesn't take anything back. He knows how they were, but he admitted, like, they were the better team. They, the way he said, he's like, well, we got old and they got better. So
and
he wouldn't
they
even
had the best player in the world.
Yeah, he wouldn't even give it up to, like, it's just like age. That was the only reason we lost.
It's been great. It has been thoroughly enjoying, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it every Sunday night. Like, I look forward to those 2 hours more than anything throughout the week.
And guys, you got to give it up to ESPN.
The Jordan rules on Sunday. That'll be interesting. How they go in depth on who leaked all that stuff to Sam Smith about the 90-91 season. Because that I don't know. I'm finally going to learn stuff. I loved not learning anything this last week and just enjoying nostalgia run. But the Jordan rule stuff fascinates me, and all the stuff that Sam Smith has written.
It is amazing. The first two shows, you heard an F-bomb every once in a while, one from Michael, one from Scotty, and I think there was another one mixed in there. But, like, it is the last 2 episodes, like, F-bombs have been flying everywhere. Like, it's become casual conversation. Yeah.
It's the Pistons. They bring it out in everybody.
Yeah, that F-bomb's going to stand.
Real quick, were there any just extreme takeaways from the draft over the weekend? I know that we haven't really gotten into particulars.
I don't think I wasn't surprised or shocked at all by Neville and where he went. I mean, we talked about it a lot. Like, we just had no idea where teams valued him going into that draft.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote 2 first round, second, a third, and then Motley is a 5th. Obviously, Motley didn't get picked, and it just shows you that what OU's defense did in 2019 is just the first step. It's still not getting a lot of respect for the overall brand of what they've been able to do, and what Motley did in 1 year didn't erase some of the question marks that some of those people might have had about the previous two seasons. And if he's really good enough, like Tony Jefferson, like Stephen Parker have been, he can make it with the Bucks, and we'll still hear his name here in the next couple of years. But
and Bob, it's crazy too, because I mean, it really did force you to go back and kind of look at Parnell's last year, and it was so good. I mean, what he did at Oklahoma State, he carried that team on his back defensively. He should have had a pick that he didn't get, and what he did against Denzel. Is it Denzel Mims?
Denzel Mims.
Yes. What he did against him 2 games, and then he literally was great in the Peach Bowl. I mean, he shut Jefferson down. It was just, I mean, he had Chase down. He had a fantastic season. I mean, it's a shame he didn't get drafted. I mean, that was the only, bad mark on the night.
Yeah, I mean, we thought Lee Morris maybe, but that was more of a flyer, maybe more just – what's weird is that he hasn't been officially picked up yet. It seems like he's maybe still weighing some options. We all thought he'd go to the Cardinals, go with Kyler, things of that nature. But we're here at Wednesday, and I still have not heard anything concrete about him. And then it sounds like, did no one else really get invites? No Hugh Overton, Nick Basquin? I didn't expect him to make any rosters, but usually Saturday night you start seeing a flood of former players agreeing, okay, I'll be an undrafted free agent with this squad, and that didn't happen this year.
I've talked about it a lot, and I'm guessing Nick Basquin, because of his injury history and the fact that teams didn't really get to do all the stuff they might like to do with him, like just check him all, do all the full medical workups, that kind of stuff. I'm going to guess teams were real scared to give him any guaranteed money. Like that would be my guess, is that, like kind of a non-roster invitee or something like that. I mean, they're going to have to do some. I mean, because somebody will take an interest, just even if it's just to have a body out there during practice. Like, he'll probably end up doing something, but that's a scary deal when you're talking about, we're giving a guy $10,000 that has that kind of, I mean, even in that small amount, that sort of injury history, and when you haven't had your doctors have a chance to look him over and stuff, that's got to be a little concerning.
I wonder how much the uncertainty of the virus is playing into it, because, I mean, you look at, like, Jameis Winston getting a $1 million deal. You wonder, are people curious about practice squads, when they can sign people, how many people they need to have, how many weeks they're going to have to prepare, all that stuff. Because you're not really worrying about those guys through OTAs, I don't think. I'd have to ask, like, Gabe to see, Eichert to see exactly how all that works. But, maybe that's playing into it, why there's so little, movement out there for practice squad guys.
I hadn't even thought about that, but it makes a good – I mean, but, people had kind of talked about, you had 4 draft picks and LSU had 13 or 14. This was not a team that lost a ton. Like, I know you can talk about, like, the big names, like obviously Murray, Lamb, Jalen Hurts, Neville Gallimore. Those are losses that people know and recognize. But, like, the guys who might normally slip into the 5th or 6th or 7th round, those guys are all back because they're all sophomores last year. I mean, they've got a lot of that nucleus returning. And I think people forget that because they lost so many of the big kind of bright, shiny stars, but the guys who are, make up most of the 11 on each side of the ball are back.
And then when I was just going through that rough list for 2021, you start to realize a lot of it is projecting guys leaving early. There aren't a lot of redshirt seniors or seniors besides, like, Trey Brown and Caleb Kelly. Outside of that, you're just like, well, if Charleston Rambo has a big year, he's gone. Kennedy Brooks, we thought he might leave after last year. If he has a good year, he's gone. But none of those guys have to be gone. So it's going to be just curious to see how that starts to work out. Because any of those guys, like Marquise Hayes, like Adrian Ely, it feels like they could leave, but they don't necessarily have to.
Well, and some of the guys, it's going to be hard to evaluate because you got, like, Ramondre Stevenson's going to be suspended. Yep. Ronnie Perkins going to be suspended. It's going to be tough to judge. It's going to be hard to become a first-round draft pick when you play half the season.
It kind of what Bob was just saying, too, is you look at those 2016 and 2017 recruiting classes, those things are pretty depleted when you get to guys that are still sticking around the program right now.
I mean, and that's – that's the thing, people talk about, well, look at all the numbers LSU had. Well, yeah, they had like 9 guys leave early. Like, if you're really having success, you're not going to have a lot of redshirt seniors on your roster. Like, that's not the way that works anymore, because as soon as these kids can get paid, they're going to go do it. You had a guy like Sadiq Charles leave early from LSU, and it was like a 3rd-round pick. I mean, that's not even – it used to be if you were a first-rounder, okay, you're leaving. Second-rounder, okay, maybe. Like Curtis Lofton is a good example, like a guy that probably wasn't going to do any more for his, draft stock. He was kind of where he was going to be, and so he left and, was an early second-rounder. But for the most part, man, now, if you're even close, you're going.
That 2016 class, guys, it's actually unbelievable, just kind of the – way that thing shaped up. Here are some names from it. In fact, you could probably count on one hand how many guys actually truly have contributed at OU. Parrish Cobb, Zach Farrar, Adrian Hardy, Mark Jackson, Ashton Julius, Capri Doucette, Emmanuel Beal. Okay, I'll give you Emmanuel Beal. Giancarlo Valentine, John Michael Terry, Logan Robertson, Austin Kendall, Abdul Adams, Chance Sylvie, Michael Jones, Amani Bledsoe, Ben Powers, Eric Swinson, Parnell Motley, Bryce Youngquist, Jordan Parker, and Caleb Kelly. That's unbelievable to me.
Hey,
Now,
at least you found the Bryce Youngquist interview the other day.
How about that? I was actually really proud that I found that.
Compare it to 2017. And I won't list everybody. I'll just list the notables. Trey Norwood, Adrian Ely, Marquise Brown, Kennedy Brooks, Kenneth Murray, Creed Humphrey, CeeDee Lamb, Marquise Hayes, Jeremiah Hall, Trey Sermon, Grant Calcaterra, Charleston Rambo, Trey Brown, Justin Broyles, Tyrese Robinson, and...
Is someone dying?
I mean...
What is going on?
Is that the baby?
It is. I got feeder.
No worries. I know that sound. I know that. And then I guess you have to include Chris Robinson.
And say, Josh,
Is that Bob making that noise or the baby? Is he breastfeeding?
That's the year when they start to be aggressive, instead of the patient approach of waiting to January to fill out a class. That 2017 group, that was the first one where, remember they were doing like 8 for 8, 9 for 9, and we have got 9 commits and all our 4 stars, and that was like back in March, and that was like revolutionary. That was like a different time for us. Like what the heck is going on here? This is not what OU does. They wait forever before they make their move, and so you saw that change of the plan of attack and how well it really worked.
Well, and you also had guys, I mean, like, we've talked a lot about, that was kind of the first class, too, where you saw, you kind of roll with the punches better. Like CeeDee Lamb decommits. They didn't lose hope. They just stuck with him. They got him. Creed Humphrey goes to A&M. They didn't lose hope. They stuck with him. They got him. You saw OU start to, and I don't want to dismiss groups before them, but it just felt like they finally were like, okay, this is this day and age of recruiting. We're going to have to adjust to the way the kids operate now because it's not 2003 anymore. Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Good stuff.
Unbelievable.
I think we're good. It's feeding time apparently. I don't want to interrupt with that.
It's been an F kind of podcast. We've had feedings. We'd have F-bombs.
I'm going to say this is going to be our first unedited podcast.
Rings?
I'm just leaving everything in.
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
all F-bombs are allowed.
I think that's really a smart fucking decision.
See, that one I'm getting rid of.
He's going to
just for you.
Well, what we noticed last week is pulls and pops and they can't get right, didn't generate any reader response.
Thank God.
So I
really could have shut down the podcast.
We gotta go more shock and awe. I gotta get to my breaded chicken too.
Crockpot Radosevich.
I'm gonna go eat the spaghetti that's still sitting in the pan for my dinner now.
Oh God! Don't say things like that.
I just made it this morning.
You should
made spaghetti
eat something
this morning?
You should eat something really unhealthy so you welcome that bidet tomorrow.
Oh God!
What the?
I don't want to overwork it on day one. I mean, I gotta.
You gotta see what you bought. You gotta really push it to the limit.
Carey just eating peanuts by the pound.
Throw a little corn in there. Yeah, but I like.
You'll be good.
I'm wondering, like, should I do a check like afterwards just to see if it got everything?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, should we do a Scoop HD tutorial?
No, it'd be like in the movie This Is 40. I don't know if I'm sure Josh has seen it. When he's trying to figure out if he's got a hemorrhoid, his wife walks in on him.
I've seen This Is 40.
Yeah.
That's an underrated, funny movie.
Oh, it's great.
It didn't get good reviews, but I thought it was really good.
It didn't.
It's the sequel to Knocked Up. So
when they go to Vegas and take the shrooms, I think that is a really underrated, funny part of that movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you to Bob Przybylo for losing his F-bomb virginity today. You made history.
Took Isaiah Thomas. That's all. And not the one that's at OU. I don't want to get this thrown out there, then I'm mad. I'm mad at the defensive end.
I'm tweeting out B. Przybylo hates OK Preps.
He hates Tulsa, folks. He hates Tulsa. The
He
entire
hates
city.
everyone named Isaiah Thomas. All right, well, good stuff, guys, and thanks for everybody for listening. Thanks for staying with us on the website as well. Hopefully we'll get some good news continuing to come in on football being played this fall. So we'll stay in touch with that, and I'm sure you guys will too. But until next week, thanks for listening to the Unofficial 40 podcast on Soonerscoop.com.